Before I begin, just want to say a humongous thank you to TEDxYouth Hewitt. This is an incredible privilege to be here. So guys, who here has heard that I have Tourette syndrome? Okay, can't say. Okay. It is true. I do have Tourette's. I've had Tourette's for about 20 years of my life. Something cool has happened to me, though, recently. And as of about 5 months ago, I have learned how to control my Tourette's. And so because I'm not going to be ticking on stage, I'm going to bring you back into my life of what it's been like me for the past 20 years. So we can watch this short clip.
I have Tourette's, by the way, just to throw that out there, okay? Penis, fuck. No, I understand. Can I control it? It's called Tourette's. It's a medical disorder. It's involuntary. I won't take.
I do have the world's strongest jaw, yes. And my friends and I last year, we tried to estimate. We think that I've ticked somewhere between 20 to 30 million times in my life, which is a good amount of times of ticking. And as you can imagine, I've learned a lot of different lessons from ticking that many times, one of them being about tolerance. And for the past 3 years, I've had the incredible privilege and opportunity to travel all around the United States, speaking with my presentation, What Makes You Tick? And I just try to teach people how to become more tolerant individuals. And I do that by sharing a lot of my personal stories and by being really open about my challenges. And I do this because when I do, I find that people in the audience are simply reminded of how little we know about each other's lives. And it's my hope that when you remember that you have a little bit more compassion for yourself and also for people who are different than you. So let's start talking about Tourette syndrome. Now, who has heard Tourette's before? Wonderful. Anyone never heard of it? Never? Just a couple? Okay, not bad. So since most of you have heard of it, where have you seen it in TV shows and movies? If you can raise your hand really quickly. Anyone? Yes, in the way back.
ABC News Special.
ABC News Special, cool.
Deuce Bigelow.
Mel Gigolo, classic movie, of course. Anyone else? Yes?
South Park.
South Park. Do you think it's funny to bring up South Park? Because it is. It was hilarious. Okay, so I was crying with friends. It was so funny. And has anyone seen the Tourette's guy on YouTube? Tourette's guy on YouTube? So he is my first cousin. No, that's not true at all. We're not all related. So I'm glad you've seen it a lot of places, but let me be very clear about something. As you saw in the video, Tourette's is absolutely insane. It is totally crazy. And what's happening is that Tourette's creates these itch-like sensations inside of my body. So right now, I want you to try to actually imagine having an itch right now. In my mouth, I have this Tourette itch. Now, I want to make clear, it doesn't feel like the kind of itch that might be in your arm, but it's the same idea in that I didn't choose for it to be there. It's completely involuntary, and it's also very uncomfortable. And when you see me go, or I say a word or I do something with my body, that's a tick. That's actually me trying to scratch that itch. Does that make sense? So I have no control over that itch, but I do have some voluntary control scratching it. And people would always ask, of course, why do you just not scratch it? And the reason it was so hard not to is because imagine that itch that you have, multiply that by 10 or 15. And that's what it was like for the past 20 years. And I've had all kinds of tics, as you saw. Blinking, sniffing, chomping, words, everything you can imagine. And then when I was in middle school, then I started to say bad words. Now, who here has heard? If you have Tourette's, you say bad words. Very big stereotype, and rightfully so. Funny thing is, most people don't. less than 10%, I think. Unfortunately, I like to do things a little bit differently. And I said all sorts of things. As you heard in the video, I said some curse words. I said body parts, including the word penis. Maybe you've heard of it. And I also was a substitute teacher in life, and one day I was subbing for a 4th grade class. Okay, haven't said the joke. So I'm in this class, and I was thinking penis a lot, and this one 4th grader yelled out, he goes, "Mr. Elliot, what are you saying?" I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to tell this kid? And another 4th grader yelled out, "He's saying pizza." Pizza, okay. So, as I also said, though, some really offensive things as well. Imagine saying the most offensive things that you can imagine to the people that you love the most. Imagine saying the riskiest thing to your black friends. I did that thousands of times. My older brother is gay. I said the most offensive things that you could ever imagine to him. This was by far the worst part about my Tourette's, by far the worst. And 2 summers ago, I was in a McDonald's, and a guy came up to me, and he goes, "Oh my God, dude, do you have Tourette's?" I was like, "As a matter of fact, I do." He goes, "That is so awesome." I was like, not exactly. So he said to me, he goes, "Well, do you say cuss words?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you say the F word?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Dude, that's so cool because you have an excuse." And I thought about it for just a moment. I thought, how can I try to convey to the stranger what it's really like to have Tourette's? So we're in the middle of McDonald's. It was totally packed, and I said to this man, "So do me a favor. I want you to say the N-word as loud as you can right now." And he didn't say a word after that, because I think he got the point really quickly, that even though it might be funny to say penis one time, when you're saying such offensive words like I was doing over the past 20 years, it's not very fun at all. And as I always used to tell people, I am sorry if it bothers you. It bothers me more. So guys, that's my Tourette's in a nutshell, but anytime that I talk, I always want to try to give people the chance to see, what is it like to have Tourette's? So can everyone stand up for me very quickly? Momentarily, I'm going to be giving you all permission to have Tourette's. This is your one chance in life to yell fire in a room where there is no fire. You can do a physical or a vocal tic. I just ask that you don't say something that could potentially offend someone else. You have 10 seconds starting right now. Okay, we can sit. Do you want to know what's messed up? I was joking. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I do this though, not because I think it's really funny to see you all have Tourette's, but this is just a really cool social experiment, because even though I gave you all permission to have Tourette's and you knew everyone else did, a lot of you still chose not to tic. And I hope this was just a cool opportunity to see what is it really like to have Tourette syndrome, how uncomfortable it can be on a day-to-day basis. So thanks for participating in that Tourettic experience. Give yourself a little round of applause there, yes? So you guys can imagine, as some of you just experienced, I've just had a different perspective in life. I got to see on a day-to-day basis, how do people treat and react to someone who is so different from everyone else? I mean, for 20 years, doing weird things like this, chomping, saying offensive things, doing weird things with my body, scaring people. And I just had a chance to see, what is it like to be so different than everyone else? And from that different perspective, one of the most important lessons I learned was about tolerance. And I want to make something really clear. I only talk about tolerance, the lowest level in my opinion. I only talk about tolerance. And some people, including some of you, maybe have a serious problem with that. Because you might be thinking, Mark, why aren't you talking about acceptance? Isn't that so much more powerful? And I couldn't agree more. However, in my life over the past 20 years, in my opinion, I've just found that there's so many people that don't even meet that basic threshold of tolerance. So that's why I talk about tolerance. And instead of using the word tolerance, I use a different word, in fact, a different phrase. And that is, live and let live. Have you ever heard that phrase before? Yeah. I did not invent that, just so we're clear on that. But to me, that is what tolerance is all about. Can I ask you your name?
Tammy.
Hey, Tammy, don't worry, I won't call you up here. If I'm going to say I'm going to tolerate Tammy, this is what I think I'm really saying. I'm going to live my life, and I'm going to let Tammy live her life. I'm going to live and let live. And I've learned so much about live and let live, not from reading it in a textbook, but just because I've been in so many intolerant situations. And after they happen, I came up with the most simple conclusion. That when a person is being intolerant, usually He or she is making so many assumptions about someone else. And I think we all can agree, assumptions that are totally okay to make. But then they decide to turn those assumptions into an action. I'm going to share a story with you. Who here likes Wendys fast food restaurant? Spice your crispy chicken sandwich every time. So, standing in line at Wendys, and there's a woman next to me, and I'm barking like a dog, doing my thing. And she had no idea what was happening right next to me, and I can totally understand why. So I looked at her, I said, "Hey ma'am, my name is Mark, I have Tourette syndrome, I just want to give you a heads up, not trying to bother you." She sort of looked at me, dismissed what I had to say, it was no big deal. And then about 10 seconds went by, and all of a sudden this woman made an announcement to all the workers that were facing us, and she said out loud, "Don't worry everyone, he is retarded." And I took a deep breath and headbutt. No, I did not do that, no. It wasn't Tourette's, no, just kidding. So, I said, "Ma'am, I'm not retarded, I just have Tourette syndrome." And I want to say something on a very serious note. She actually might have said that to try to help me. She might have been trying to protect me. But the point is that she only met me for 10 or 15 seconds, made so many assumptions about who I was and what I was doing, which again, totally understandable, but then she believed that whatever she thought was true and turned those assumptions into an action. And she chose not to live and not live. And I've been in a lot of situations like this. I've even been kicked off of a bus before. I've had doctors tell me that they don't think I have Tourette syndrome. I've been laughed at, everything you can imagine. And I tell you these not because I want you to feel bad about me or bad for me. It's just that they illustrate so well how there were these people who made so many assumptions about someone else and believed that whatever they thought was true. And in my opinion, they really just let their ignorance, and I don't mean ignorance in a negative way, they just let their lack of understanding of someone else's life dictate their own actions. And so this is what Live and Let Live is all about. When we go out in our own life and we see someone that is so different than us, maybe they just look weird, they look funny, a different skin color, different sexual orientation, they have Tourette syndrome, maybe they're just the annoying stranger. Have you ever met the annoying stranger? Okay. When we encounter those people in life, we can think whatever we want about that person. We can make whatever assumptions we want. We can make whatever judgments we want. Because, hey, we're human. That's what we do. We make assumptions about people that are different than us. But I say, why not just let it be that? An assumption and only an assumption. And why turn it into an action that might negatively impact that person's life if at the end of the day, we really do know so little about each other's lives and what we're going through? And when you remember that, I hope that that triggers something inside you that says, hey, I'm going to live my life. I'm going to let them live their life. I'm going to live and not live. And I met someone 2 years ago when I moved to Manhattan, of course in Manhattan, that was the total epitome of live and not live. And this happened on 23rd and 7th. And I was walking down in the A, and I was walking down and I had my headphones on. And I don't know about you guys, but if I'm alone and my headphones are in, I'm dancing. Great job, by the way, before. So I'm dancing on the platform, and I was ticking a bunch. And after about 30 seconds, I noticed that there was a guy about 6 feet away from me. Now, he had not looked at me one time yet, but I was barking so loudly that I just wanted to give him a heads up. So I look over at this guy. I said, hey, sir, my name is Mark. I have Tourette's. I'm not trying to bother you. Just want to give you a heads up. And he slowly turned to me and he goes, dude, no worries at all. And then he went back to what he was doing. And because of the way that he responded to me, I just, for some reason, felt so inclined to go back and ask this man a question. And I kid you not, I'd never done this in my entire life. So after about 2 minutes, I muster up the courage. I walk over to this guy. And I go, sir, I know this is really bizarre, but what were you thinking about me before I told you I had Tourette's? What was going through your head? And he goes, honestly, I just thought you were having a really good time. Okay, I'm barking, I'm dancing, I don't know what kind of party that is. I said, well, what about when I started to chop my teeth? He goes, oh yeah, that was weird. It's like, okay, good. We have some honesty here. And I go, sir, the reason I asked you is because it was so cool what you did. No matter what you thought about me, no matter what assumptions you made about me, no matter what judgments you had about me, before and after I told you I had Tourette's, you just totally let me live my life. You just let lived. And I told him about my speaking and my message, and I finally asked him straight up, I go, sir, why are you like this? And he goes, well, it's really funny that you asked that, Mark. And I should note, his name is Jay, first name basis, long conversation. And he goes, Mark, when I was 16 years old, I was in the back of a city bus in New York City. And in the front of this bus, there was the screaming, annoying kid. You know the screaming, annoying kid? He said this kid was absolutely out of control. And to make matters even worse, it looked like he was sitting next to his dad. So Jay was in the back of this bus thinking, oh my God, why won't this kid just shut up? And Jay told me there was a woman sitting next to him. And the woman said to Jay, if that was my kid, I would really show him up. And while they were talking about how annoying this kid was, another stranger on the bus got up and walked up to this kid and to the dad. And the stranger said to the dad, will you please control your kid? As we all might have been thinking on the back of that bus. And Jay told me, he said the dad turned to the stranger and said, his mother just died. We came from her funeral. And Jay said, he goes, Mark, at that moment in life, I realized I don't know anything about anybody. I don't know what people are thinking. I don't know what people are doing. I just want to let people be. In other words, I want to live and let live. And guys, I want you to go back to this morning when you woke up and you were getting out of bed, and I want you to think about a challenge that you knew that you were going to be dealing with today. Some kind of challenge, a struggle, an insecurity, something that you were dealing with. And I should note, this could be really small, it could be really big, it might be as noticeable as my Tourette's, or maybe no one in this entire world knows that you're dealing with this. Everyone got something? And now I want you to think about, how does that challenge affect your behavior? Here's what I mean. How does that challenge in dealing with it influence the way that you behave and act that potentially alters the way that people perceive you? For example, I have zits on my back. I've had them my whole life. I hate them. And sometimes when I'm in a room with friends and my shirt is off and I have to walk by them, I will literally change directions when I walk by them so they don't have to see my back because I'm so embarrassed. How does your challenge influence your behavior? I want you to quickly take a quick glance at someone in this room that you do not know. A quick glance. This also might get awkward. That's good. And now I want you to take a quick glance at someone in this room that you do know. And if you don't know someone, you can look at me. You know me pretty well at this point. So I ask you to do this because have you ever seriously just slowed down life enough for just one moment to think about that stranger in the grocery store, your friend in your classroom, or maybe even your best friend? Have you ever thought about what challenges are they dealing with that are potentially influencing their behavior and altering the way that you perceive them? And when you think about your life, whether here it's at the Hewitt School or your life at work or wherever you are, have you thought about that? Hey, maybe someone is overweight actually because they're on medication that's causing them to gain weight. Or someone is really rude to you, not because it has anything to do with you at all. It's just because the night before their parents got a divorce, or the person is dealing with anxiety, an eating disorder, their sexuality, or maybe you just happen to experience that person have one bad moment out of a really good day. So the next time that you're about to turn your assumptions into an action that might negatively impact someone else's life, gossiping about someone, deciding to put someone down, choosing to not be someone's friend, before you do that, I encourage you to stop and just think about this. Do you really know what's going on in that person's life? Do you really know what makes that person tick? I think the answer is no. And I hope that inspires something in all of us that says, hey, I'm going to live my life. I'm going to let them live their life. I'm going to live and let live. And I'll end with a quote that's an iteration from Plato. And I think it captures the essence of what my speech is all about. And it goes just like this. Be kinder than necessary. Everyone is fighting their own battles that you know nothing about. Thank you so much, TEDxYouth Hewitt. Thanks, folks.